Breaking news.
Barcelona are in trouble. Now, for all intents and purposes, life has actually been pretty peaceful as a Barcelona fan. After the trials and tribulations of spiraling debt, terrible transfer business, and the loss of the club's captain, and probably its most iconic figure in the club's history in Lionel Messi, some stabilization, investment in youth players, and even a return to the top of the table in La Liga has followed. But with news this week of Barcelona actively paying a former referee and a potential investigation into match fixing and corruption, are Barcelona gonna be back in crisis soon enough? Lads, come on, I just stopped rinsing you as a football club. Now, what actually is the news? So there was the revelation that earlier this week, Barcelona had been paying a private company between the years of 2016 and 2018 to the value of £1.2 million, and they were paying that company for advice on referees, as well as surveys as to whether referees were acting in neutrality. The problem is, this company is owned by a former Spanish referee. His name is Jose Maria Enriquez Negreira, and he was the vice president of the Spanish Referees Committee at the time. They made a total of 33 payments to Jose Maria, and it doesn't take a genius to know that as a football club, you probably shouldn't be paying an active member, certainly a vice president of a refereeing committee, because it comes across kind of dodgy, and then you definitely should not be avoiding invoicing those payments and not actually describing what the services are. Yeah, that's right. So a lot of these documents have been found of payments to Jose Maria, but he didn't actually declare that they were even happening or what the services were for. Barcelona have stated that it is, again, for advice and for reports of Spanish referees to make sure they're staying neutral. But if it's not actually getting reported as that and you're not putting that down on your tax documents, then that just comes across as kind of weird. I'm not being funny, but £1.2 million for a couple of surveys, you're getting rinsed, lads. I could contact a YouTuber from Stratford who'd probably do it for £350 if you give him a mic outside Westfield.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Max, obviously.
The problem for Barcelona is, again, there's no documents to actually justify that these payments were for any sort of, like, service to do with surveys. Listen, for me, this was during, what, the 2016-2018 era? Can we just investigate the Felipe Coutinho transfer as well whilst we're at it? Here we have Coutinho getting kicked out of the assembly, asking for a survey on how to become a better footballer. That wasn't what it was for, Felipe. Also, the fact this is being investigated during an era where Real Madrid did the three-peat in the Champions League, you couldn't do that with the referee's help. I'd ask for my money back. Personally, I wouldn't have it. There are apparently documents that go all the way back to 2003 for payments to this company and the vice president of the Spanish Referees Committee. That has also been confirmed by Barca's former president, Josep Bartomeu, and I, for one, just don't understand why he admitted that. Boss, it's already bad enough. You don't have to add fuel to the fire. He really said everyone else is coming down with him whilst he's in hiding from angry Barcelona fans in a hut somewhere in Venezuela. You've really got to ask yourself what the level of influence Barcelona maybe had on referees during this era. I knew that their ref kits during the time were a little bit suspect. The VAR screens in La Liga were questionable at best after a decision. Referees were helping them time waste down at the corner flag when they were 2-1 up and were struggling to keep it subtle when Barca took the lead after a recent €4.7 million payment. But you know what? A couple of things are starting to make sense. For one, that crazy game in the Champions League, or crazy tie between Chelsea and Barcelona, where Blues fans famously thought they were cheated, and in the end, an Andreas Iniesta banger took Barcelona through. See, Didier Drogba knew from the start. He must be pretty smug seeing the news today.
You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
And in 16-17, this penalty in a title race at a dramatic point in the La Liga title race was given in favour of Jordi Alba versus Real Betis. Goodness! But look, obviously, I'm joking. I'm not necessarily suggesting that these decisions, certain games are going to have been heavily influenced by match fixing necessarily. But what I will say is it's very sketchy. And whatever Barcelona say about these sorts of payments being very normal, Xavi has come out in press conferences saying that this is something that all big clubs do not believe it. Because the Spanish Referees Committee themselves came out with a statement this week condemning any sort of act between football clubs and the committee or any members or current or even former referees, because obviously being paid by a certain entity is a massive conflict of interest. The fact that they've distanced themselves from Jose Maria and haven't obviously confirmed that this is something that is very regular when it comes to providing surveys for football clubs means that it is quite evidently not a normal thing, as Barcelona have tried to suggest. Barca could be back in the mud, ladies and gentlemen, and there will be some people that are happy about that. After his treatment from the fans, Samuel Umtiti's crying tears of joy, Shakira is already attempting to find evidence to prove that Gerard Piqué was involved in it all. Lads, trust me, it's on the jam jar again. What, and now Gerard's gonna have to turn up in a Renault to court so that he can plead guilty to 17 counts of corruption. But what are the potential sanctions? What does this mean for Barcelona? I mean, you can't find them. They haven't got any money to begin with. Robert Lewandowski won't want to be interrupted by the authorities when they come questioning him. Chelsea are going to make the most of this and take former Barcelona wingback Marc Cucurella back to Spain so that he can be held accountable for his crimes. When he gets there, and he'll be making the most of the fact that the local authorities don't know how to spell his name.
Name and address now, I'll arrest you.
Right, my name is...
You're under arrest.
But can Barcelona even be investigated here? Well, the actual genuine answer is no by La Liga. The president of the league, Javier Tebas, has said that his organization cannot open an investigation into the payments made by Barcelona because of the fact that it is so-called time barred, okay? There are laws within La Liga legislation that mean that once something's happened over 3 years ago, it can't be investigated retrospectively, which I think is ridiculous because for the most part, things like this do not get uncovered straight away. I think if you're gonna do that and you're gonna have a time barring system, it has to be over a longer period of time, but that's not the point of this video. It does mean that La Liga physically cannot open an investigation about the situation. They will not be able to give a points deduction, for example. And that sounds like great news for Barcelona fans, and I'm sure they'll be celebrating that. But the one thing, the small little piece of info that came out of that quote as well, which is really interesting, is that he did confirm the only reason it's not being investigated is because of the time period, and did suggest that it is in fact a conflict of interest. Once again, what has happened here is being acknowledged as not normal and a bit sketchy, because he also confirmed that Barcelona could still be prosecuted by the actual Spanish criminal justice system. So even though La Liga can't do anything, the actual Spanish courts, who are really hot on tax fraud, can come down on Barcelona still, and even said that if they were to be investigated by the justice system, it would be for corruption or match fixing. That is massive. Him even saying that in his statement as the president of La Liga is nuts. So for me, you're not gonna see like a huge amount of developments or punishments necessarily from this story, but certainly not in the near future. But what I will say about this is that the statements that have come out after the news was broken are, to me, even more important than the news story itself. Yes, obviously paying a former referee £1.2 million is not a great look, but if the CTA, as they're known in Spain, or the referees committee, hadn't come out and gone, yeah lads, we don't condone this, this shouldn't be happening, and then the president of La Liga hadn't come out and gone, yeah, it's a conflict of interest, but we can't do anything about it, I think it would be a lot easier for Barcelona to brush under the carpet. Something very sketchy has clearly gone on here. Either way, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, you might like the Manchester City video that I did recently about the charges that they are facing. You can head over and check that one out, or feel free to slap a like on this video and subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is @officialfng on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.